welcome to our final AI masterclass. This time we are going to look at graphics and design. Without ado, let's have a look. Obviously, if you have been part of us, you know that every time when we publish something, we also add it within. It's available on demand for you to access free. At the same time, we also upload that within our YouTube channel. So these are some of the resources. If you haven't tapped into, please do tap into. Our last two masterclasses has already been added. The data governance and AI writer is in, and also the other uh, update webinars that we do monthly. It's also there. And also, if you are part of the circle or what we call the connect, that's where we first post anything that comes in like 4 to 6 weeks in advance. We normally give you the first come outside information or inside information, as you call it, and we go from there. So please do follow if you're in Circle or in Scribble, LinkedIn, or follow us on YouTube. So that's the main part. AI Scoop is now being refreshed and updated to become even longer. So that's going to be refreshed from end of this week, but that's all we have. So today is a very interesting topic. So I'll start with some of the basics. The basics are, so as you know, generative AI, what we call that's happened just ChatGPT, is not something new. If you go back and check, but this was news for me as well. While I was pulling this slide, I was checking how far does this go back. Supposedly, Michael Knoll, a technologist, way back in 1962, he's created his first AI generative artwork, which is called Simply Pattern. Have a look, and it's exhibited in Howard Weiss Gallery back in the US, right? That's like nearly 65 years ago, 60, yeah, nearly 60 years ago. And also some of the artists have or also have used generative art through the 1970s to pioneer this art form. So just to be clear, the generative AI wasn't being done just because OpenAI came out with DALL-E last year, or Midjourney, which is very popular, and ChatGPT, as you know, because those made it far more accessible. That's what you're seeing every company now trying to use the word AI, AI powered, AI embraced, AI driven, and so, just to leverage this new wave. The metaverse, which was previously a big buzzword, was also using generative AI to a certain extent. That's why Facebook very, very soon will be coming out with their own AI art generator or AI text generator that comes up, because all these things are there for you. So we are actually not in the very first boom of AI art. We're actually in the second boom of AI art. I strongly suggest go back and check for these things, Michael Knoll's artwork, and also these artists that's mentioned here. Just go back and check their thing. I just want to seed you in gradually, because we know you should be very, very comfortable by now on using texts or writing part of AI. That's why for the writers masterclass, I didn't go back and give you many use cases. I just gave you a framework, because we have nearly 110 use cases that we have applied in all the proposal writing, bid writing type of assignments, marketing copies, press releases, and so. But once you have the framework, I assume you are going to do that. That's where we didn't go. Whereas design is slightly different. So these are some of the experiences that I personally have, and within the team, where I'm nudging them to take some actions around it. So AI is not going to give you an end product, but it's AI art especially, but it's always good as a starter. It provides some ideas that you would never think that you could do. And it also enables you with a lot of insights about how to approach this design, on who are you writing it for, who are you designing it for. So the principles that you're writing, it's exactly the same thing here, So it breaks that writer's block that we have. It also kind of helps you with the creative blocks that we have. One of the tools which I found recently, which I suggested to the team just today, is Vidya.ai. And because reason for that is we have nearly 800 articles. No, it's more than 800 articles. This was pre-AI, just on Baachu Scribble. If you add Baachu.com, BaachuRain.com, etc., we have nearly 1,500 articles. So, but every single article has its own banners, has its own theme, etc. But what Vidya does is, if you give it as a theme, it just gives you within 60 seconds a theme for your article. Give you the text of headline, it just creates a theme for you. What that meant is you don't need to go back and sit with your designer to just find, can you create, article, banner, etc. for that video, does it within a split second. So if you're short of any resources, and if you run a website, or if you also do marketing in addition to your proposal work, the quickest form for you to do is video, which I'll cover. Anyway, these are some of the points, because I just want to seed some of the early parts before I go into some history, historical information of graphics and others, and then we'll get into the AI tools. That's the journey for us. Personally, I found Midjourney a fantastic tool. The reason for that is, if you are someone who's using the images that you're buying it from Getty or Shutterstock, etc. Instead of that, you can now create something, customize it with Midjourney, etc. The only thing is, Midjourney source it from multiple sources, not necessarily where the images comes from, because unlike a written part, we talked about copyright and stuff. Images also have copyright issues, but again, Midjourney is now going through interesting lawsuits against some of these stuff, just to show some of the sources. But creative wise, it takes it totally to the next level. So again, it's important, three things. Number one, it helps you with the creative blocks that you have. Second, it provides some niche cliches, especially when you want to customize it for end user, etc. AI generated art cannot beat personal creativity. It gives you a nice settling point for you, and then you can go from there. The most important thing is, even with some of the familiar concepts that that you have been using for a long time, like how you do in writing, AI generated arts also give you twist. I'll do all these things. So now, video, before I get into the actual content, video, as it mentions here, you just type in a text prompt saying, this is my article is about, this is it, then it very quickly creates an images for you, right? Very simple tool, and based on OpenAI, right? Moving on. The other ways of graphic design, as you can see here, again, some of you might be designers here. I will run a short poll just so that I know who you are, as we normally do. But in general, if we have a look, what it does, it streamlines your workflow. But even before you do that, we already have covered certain basics, regardless whether you're writers or whether you are designers or whether you do both. You do need to start to use some AI tools, transcription tools like Firefly or Author, etc., or even Microsoft Teams Premium, to actually start to cut down your meeting transcription notes. What that meant is, now you can use the time not just for writing, but also for your creative work. That's step one, if you're not using it. The other one is, this happens all the time within the team. Okay, somebody does it, if you manage also websites in addition to proposals, you don't need to create some dummy content. In the past, you can't copy paste a blurb. You do need to have some fillers on it. Again, AI tools now can help you to fill it. It's not perfect answer, but it's a baseline response, as they call it. But for websites, it's unbelievably good. Otherwise, you might be looking at lorem ipsum and all these Latin words that comes out with it. So just a seeding point, because people get very personal when it comes to design using AI, much more of writing, because we have been talking about AI for proposals and bidding for well over 4 months, but it's just in the past couple of weeks we are talking AI for graphics, and this is the first time we are opening up, and there will be only one detailed eight-week bootcamp that will be running this year, just with an inaugural cohort, just so that we could go very deep on this, because we know this is a sensitive topic for designers much more than the writers, who now have accepted things have done. But it's the same thing for AI arts as well. Things have changed, but here, creativity to the core, because what we always tell with the AI writing tools is, here we go, do a mundane task with it so it can be creative. Whereas what you'll find today is, even the creative tasks, many of that can also be used AI. So these are some of the pointers. Experimenting with the AI art is what I strongly recommend. So in this slides, I'll cover some of the very critical aspects. But before I move into, we will be covering all these things. What I've found it is, what type of diagrams do we need to use it for certain cases, and what type of how do I need to use my creative thinking, what's an information graphics, etc. So we won't be just looking at the specifics of, here we go, these are the AI tools, just go and do, this is how you use InDesign or Illustrator, etc. This is not a design course. This is much more of what we are trying to do here is, okay, you have an information, you are only creating diagrams to justify or to make the user understand what you have written. If that's the case, information graphics is very different to normal graphics and designs. That's what we'll be looking into specifics here, and how we can use different information, and what are the different tools. What's a pie chart, why your pie chart is good, what's a table chart, why do we use it, where can we use infographics, different types of it, etc. So, and then we'll be using different use cases to do that. That's why it goes in very different level, very, very, whether you are a beginner, whether you're expert, with the foundational aspects of design, the thought process of design, then we'll go with the AI and related tools with it. So here you have 3 images here. 2 of these images are done using AI. Which one is AI? So just for your doubt, the one with an orange shirt is number 1, one with the black burqa is number 2, and here you have below is number 3. Which of these 3 is totally AI generated? 1, 2, 3. Just go in the chat and write an answer. 2 of these are AI generated. But you can find one, but the other 2, but the other one could be tricky. So 2 and 3, ooh, close. 1 and 3, interesting. Keep trying, keep trying. So 1 is totally human. The other one is a mix. The other 2 are a mix. Okay, please try option, because it's not, there is no right or wrong answer. I just want you to be active, as we always do within the chat. So what do you think? 1 and 3? 3 obviously is the answer, but is it 1 or 2? Anybody who hasn't tried, just try. The last attempt before I get on. No? Actually, all 3 are AI generated. So the one that's much more AI generated is 2 and 3. But 1 is also, if you take 3 is 100%, and the one on the orange one is nearly 80%, and the other one is nearly 90% with some minute tweaks by the human intent. So as you can see here, so the banners that we have here, going. Thank you. So as you can see here, even even my design team is getting to an adoption on this. When we talk about proposal writing, proper graphics, you need to create 3 different bots and to create 3 different images just to represent the different things. There are certain bias. What I'm trying to do here is, once you set this pattern up, then you can just keep doing it. Okay, I want you to create 5 more different bots. I want to make this image into a male. And this is what I want to do, etc. Then it starts to evolve from there, right? That's it. Thank you. And as always, I'll open a quick poll so that I could structure my slides. You might need to bear with me, because I have nearly 80 slides this time, so we might go over. So here's a poll that's open. Very small question, just to get to know your level of experience in graphics and design. That's the first one. The second one is, what tools do you use within what I'm familiar with? And then have you ever used AI? So again, your answers will dictate how I could structure either the boot camp and also these slides going forward. Just take another 30 seconds or so, and let's just have a look. Yeah, last 10 seconds. Interesting. The options of 3 is more or less the same. I think I copy pasted differently. Okay, fine. So thank you for adding. Again, as it clearly transpires, Most of you are very new to design, totally like me, but believe me, I nailed it because you can nail it as well. That's why I personally run all these workshops rather than I allow my designers to run this workshop. You might expect them to do it, but again, I just want you to be, if I can teach you how to write, I can do how to design, I can do how to data. The reason for that is we can bring in experts to do all these things, but it's very technical. We don't want to get into all this stuff. But for now, brilliant to know that most of you are beginners, great. And also some of you are using Adobe. You could know some experts because I can see some experiences there. Canva, and most of you are using Microsoft Word template. It's only at the very end when you take all the content that you have in Word and make it as a nice big printed material. That's what people tend to switch to Adobe. Otherwise, it's great to see most of you use Word. And then again, as expected, nearly everybody except one as mentioned, I'm curious to learn, which is good. And that's the result. And I'll share the screen and we will go. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. So now let's go back into the slides. Right. So what do we have? I just want to start with some history, just so that, it's all great to talk about the future. But I just want to see how information graphics has evolved. So we are just going to do that gradually. So these are the three people. Anybody know who is Jon Snow is, or Florence Nightingale is, or W.E.B. Du Bois? Anyone know any one of them? Right? No, no, that's a good try, Eric. At least you tried it. So we are going to find who they are, right? So this was 1850s cholera. And what happened then? Jon Snow, a physician, was given the task to just say, hey, cholera is happening, and I just want you to fix it, cure the people. And what he did is something which is amazing. So he realized cholera is spreading a lot, and cholera is infectious disease. What he did is he took the London Underground tube map, because that's fascinating, and then he that was kind of wasn't taught, because the tubes were just coming along in London in the 1850s, but he generally had a map of London, and he took it, and then he started to put up dots on, these are the areas in London where it's going to be spreading high, and these are the areas where it's hotspots, as we call it. So this is what he did. And what he did is, because he managed to then curtail or carve down the entire area and said, these are the hotspots, I just want you to shut down these areas to spread cholera. And he used these mapping to get this done. You still find him in London. There is a pub called Jon Snow Pub, and there you have the Pump Memorial. So here is a man, a physician, tried to graphically represent the hotspots way back in 1850s, when we never know. And this is Florence Nightingale around the same time when there is a war. She's a nurse, and what she did is, this is Florence Nightingale, and she then came back with this map. What she did was, okay, I just want to know, they just asked, hey, how many people are dying? Why are they dying? So she created a month, January, February, March, April, May, all the way for the year from April 1854 to March 1855. And then she also mapped out on 2 or 3 reasons they are dead, or they survived, but they are injured. So she then created this map. Again, another data visualization, So what do you think this map, this diagram is? Anybody? In recent days, we call this with a name. Okay, I leave it to you as a homework to find it. What do you think this diagram is? So obviously, this is what she did. Right, different month. One is whether they got injured in the battle or whether they did it in non-battle, and then it just came out with it, or a death, right? So the final This man is Georgia in the US, and he wanted to do where are the, again, the words could be offending, but remember, this is 1900 United States. So he was tasked to just see, okay, where are the Black people in that particular state, and what's their average salary, and what's the range? And here is a man in 1900, Mr. Dubai, created, again, what graph is this? Anyone? So he just created this saying, what, these are the different parts. And so primarily, he just want to say who live in minimal, very, very, just normal, like lower class, middle class, and very rich and very affluent, etc. So he then came out with this method. So anyone know what the type of graph is? Bar graph. Yes, previous one is pie. Correct, Jason, well done. So, and then he came back with this, these are the land owned by different, again, I'm not going to say that word, but this is how it's been done. And then he just came, what that meant is, in history, people have represented information graphics. It's not something that we're doing. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you're starting out new, it's not something that you do need to rely on all the tools. Oh my God, you need to be great in design, or even PowerPoint presentation, and to create all this stuff, etc. You don't need to. But before I get in, what do you think these historical information graphics have in common? This is Dubois, and this is Nightingale, and this is Jon Snow. What do you think they have in common? Anyone? Just right. What do you think this historical information have in common? What it took something that's raw, and they tried to present it in an understandable format. But what's it? Yeah, great visualization. That's a good point, Piyush. What else? Anyone? Yes. Number one, it's trying to solve a problem. All right, that is, yeah, easy to understand. Yes, number one, it's trying to see, it's a cognitive aid. Diagrams in general are cognitive aids. Information, graphics, anything, because there is a problem, and you just need to, or there is something interesting that you want to share, and you need to make it in a persuasive way. And if you go back and tell, these are in London people are dying because of cholera, it's like, where are you dying? Why are you dying? How come we can stop, etc. So you're just using it as a solvable tool. That's number one. Number two is, you can see whether there is a pattern. Sumaya, thank you. That's helping readers digest. Complex information. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Large amount of information, easy to understand. Exactly the same point that's in the slide. So it takes, first of all, you need to collect the data points. In any diagram, it's much easy to draw a person, or I'm not saying easy, but you need to collect the data points and need to present it in a format. That's what makes it true. So it makes some patterns detectable, whether it's Nightingale's thing, or whether it's Dubois' thing, or Jon Snow's thing. It makes the pattern detectable. And finally, it helps you for comparison purpose, because I'm talking only about information graphics, not like traditional personal graphics, information graphics, right? That's where we are. And primarily, you know this, we have to keep this in wherever possible, just so that some people, if they have images, it's much easier for them to do. So how do we do this in good old days? So here is a usage of an ATM. We call it ATM, cash machines. So primarily, it just tells you, hey, imagine this is real, and this was pasted in the 1960s back in the UK, saying, hey, you know what, the cash machine is here. These are the instructions. Can anybody actually, if you might have a basic education, you might not have any education, and this kinds of tells them, this is how you used to bank with it. You just need to go back and to fill some slip, give the slip to the teller, and then you just need to collect the money, and then you go. 10 minutes. But now we are introducing the ATM. See, you put the card in, you get the money out. And what happens inside? The ATM reads your information, it sends to the bank to confirm it's right because it adds your PIN number. Once it's confirmed, it just gets your key and then it dispenses cash. Is this an okay? Is this an okay diagram? Yeah, true. Is this an okay diagram? If you are doing this to explain to an end user, this is how the current thing is working, what will you eliminate in this diagram? Anyone? Right. You don't need to explain then, right? I'm just going to come and withdraw cash and go. Why do I need to know? If it's going to make me everything in the algorithm. That's a good one. Induce is not really bothered with the backend operation. That's so true. That's so true. So that's it. So primarily, just cut the past. I don't want to know. And you just need to see how you can simplify this, right? How you can simplify this to make it use. Exactly. So what we are going to do is this. Okay, fine. I now know that's now and the bank server, etc. I need to know all these things. You're just going to simplify and you're just going to go Richmond. I just want to know this high level information. This algorithm, this is there for me. So I'm just going to keep it. Just take that as an example and then see if I were me, how am I going to do this? This is how we used to do in the past. We just say, okay, now I'm going to sketch it. I'm going to sketch the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a piece of paper, and it's going to look like this. I'm going to conceptualize this, and then I'll be sending this to my designer, and my designer needs to come out with a few pointers. How many of you have actually done that? Right? Does it? And your designer then go back and find the graphics in some of the websites that's relevant. It's going to go and say, okay, this is, I need to get this card, I need to get the pin, I need to get $1, I need to get a bank. Him or her need to do this, yeah. You first to create a theme, then you have to go and find the images that are relevant to you, icons that are relevant to you, and then you just go and then you start to do like this. Okay, I'm gonna put the 2 images I found and say, okay, I'm gonna find step 1. I'm gonna put the card in, it goes to the bank, confirmation. Step 2, the pin is verified, and then it comes back, and step 2, I receive, step 5, I receive cash. And you simply say, hey, this is how ATMs work, right? This is how we used in the past. This is the old way. But anyway, we still are good. The reason I'm sharing all these things is just to get your thing there. Certain parts of our life has been simplified now. So, and if you have attended the writers workshop, I shared about what's the I have a new framework of creating AI powered writing content, which is the craft. Right. So I think my designer is here in this thing. What I did was I just shared that, hey, I've created this framework and I just want to have a graphic that represents this, just clearly tell using this framework what happens to the proposal writer before and after. We have something called the BAB framework, before and after framework. And use that BAB framework to clearly explain how craft is going to improve this. So I put it in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave me the instructions to my designer saying, hey, you know what, designer, you maintain the clear, your layout should be like this. And I just want to have an image headline with craft framework for content creation. And I need to create 2 sketches, one for an overworked writer, then AI empowered writer. And in the upper left, you want to do this. In the lower left, you just want to do it. And all these things should be the key messages. I don't need to think all these things. I just have a principle in mind and see. You don't need to draw and give it anymore. You're just trying to give it. ChatGPT is trying to give more explanations about what exactly you need to do. And then this is the tagline. And the final output is like this. So what you have here is AI empowered writers framework to create craft. Here we go. This is your before. Here is a proposal person. Content creation used to be time consuming, labor intensive. And here is an after, now with the bot in place, him or her is empowered, efficient, and creating high quality. And these are the 5 steps framework. So you use it before and comes this. This in old days would have taken me at least, first of all, my handwriting itself is very bad, let alone my drawing. it would have taken no way for my designer to even understand what I'm trying to do. But now, within a few hours, he took the message, the framework, and he converted it. And this is a simple example of how you can start to use it. You start to use this information. But if you don't have designer within, you can also create these prompts, and you can now pass on to some AI tools and start to create some fast cut images. And that's what we're going to look next, right? We already showed you AI has some identity problem, and they are working through this. And also there are few artists, especially Black artists, who are now looking into this to understand how they can fill it, because the data sets that's been fed into many of the AI tools doesn't have the what we call, it's still biased with the white information. So if you go back and give an Asian in Midjourney or Adobe Firefly, it comes out with Chinese, because for them Asian is the Asian. So that's it. So it's the same thing if you go and create a new name. This is Cuckoo, my AI generated bot with Midjourney. So I would suggest you generate yourself. But September onwards, we'll be giving an avatar to different people within the team, so they can have their own things. So what I thought was, I just seed you in just with Midjourney, because by far this is the most popular tool. And it also now the lawsuits of a lot of things, because it's so good. And again, we don't know the source point of where it's getting it, but for you as a user, it does its job. So as I already told you, there are lots of use cases for it. You can create for social media images, tender cover images. We use it all the time for tender covers. We make it much more realistic, because especially if people see the image that's so profound with eye for detail, rather than stock images that you go for, it creates an attention, front cover, back cover. And then for me to create the user, ideally, in the craft framework, my before and after should be created by AI. I only used it just as a prompt to advise my designer, who then used it in his own way. But imagine that before is also an AI generated image, after is AI generated image, and then you are collectively telling your end user, if you work with us, this is the impact you're going to create. That's the whole thing. So this, with the bot, as you can see here, the images that you can create will be absolutely amazing. So if you might think, hey, it might not be what I'm looking for, but or help in that. But even for CVs and stuff, we are starting to use Midjourney. So yes, I've already shared. If you attended the June AMA session, I actually shared some of the tools for which I use for that. I know it's available within the thing, but you can clearly see very artistic way of representing what you're going to do. Again, this is something that we'll cover in the bootcamp, much more deep dive. But for now, I'll just share with you. You can also use it to explain your product or your service or bits and pieces. And there are some limitations which I'll also talk through when I go into the 5 or 6 recommended tools. But for now, it can't create readable text on a graphic because you still need to get the graphic, then you use the other tools to add the graphic. But imagine if everybody else is coming out with some generic Shutterstock or Getty images to explain themselves, because nobody can actually create a person as so quickly. And you create the person and then you explain it with some other things. It just comes with it. Obviously, you cannot use it to generate any violence or sexual content. And also, if you go back and try to create your own replica of who it is, it's not going to work. So that's something. Imagine is the prompt that you use it. But what I want to cover now is just want to give you, yes, there are some brands which are taking AI arts very seriously, and I know some of you are actually using Adobe, but Adobe Firefly. If you have used it, it's what Adobe Firefly does. It's only trained on copyrighted images that Adobe owns. What that meant is, if you are already subscribing with some Adobe Clouds, Adobe suite of products, it's absolutely great for you to start with it. So that's one. Then Shutterstock, if you have used, Shutterstock images, again, they are coming out with their own AI tool, just so that you can start to use that. And what Shutterstock also does is, okay, if you create an amazing image using Shutterstock, and you can also then sell it using Shutterstock, which means somebody else wants to download your image, say, etc. It just want to come with it. So again, there are some companies who are looking into bespoke learning models, like how we have generative LLMs, language learning models, and customized LLMs. Here you have customized art generators that's also coming and hitting the market. And this is the bias that I'm talking about, that people are working through. Create an image of a proposal writer frustrated with work, and guess who I got? I've got a white male. Then you just need to give it, make it gender neutral, and it comes out, somebody who's frustrated, and it comes with it. And finally, I just landed with somebody. You go very specific, and then you create something very nice. Again, in the very, very first webinar, which I did in March, I shared this image. Which of these images do you like? I know some of you might have watched it again. Which of this image do you like? I know the answer already for this because this has been tested so many times. Let me know if you like any of these images. 1 is top left, 2 is top right, bottom left is 3, bottom right is this. Which one? And you can just go from there. Yeah, 1 and 3, 1 and 3. Okay, interesting. So yeah, just again, it's something that you can just go, and so again, it makes it very, very realistic for you. 4 is good. Again, it's there. Then you can just choose one of those images, and then you can write, because what's meant is, when you're writing it for an end user, in the past we used to say the end user in a much more as a company, but if you create your end user as a personality, and then you write to that end user with specific images, your written part will be very, very different, right? And then you can just go with all these stuff. But again, these are the basics which I already covered in March this year, just when I introduced AI powered bidder. That's March. Some of you might be familiar with that, and that's it. Just to understand what we can do. Which AI graphics bot did you use? I use Midjourney. This is Midjourney, Midjourney, which I'll cover. So personally for me, Midjourney has, and these are my personal feedback, as I already said, we are noticing, we are experimenting as we speak, and experimentation is going to be the word. It also becomes your brainstorming partner, like how ChatGPT does. Midjourney becomes $8. It's no more free, it's $8, but you can start to go and do with that, so primarily, while my designer comes and works with this, I also use this to working alongside ChatGPT to craft prompts. So the best way to do that is you can use ChatGPT to create the best prompt for Midjourney, and then you could go back and use Midjourney to create the images. But I'll come back to, there are better tools if you don't want to do that. So I've specifically mentioned June 2023 here because 1 month is a long time in AI. So, so what you have here is, the good news is, OpenAI or ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a writing product for OpenAI, right? But OpenAI also have their own graphics tool called DALL-E, DALL-E, DALL-E. So DALL-E now is already integrated with Microsoft's Bing generator. If you go back and check, Microsoft Bing image generator is generated with DALL-E, and now so what that meant is, what will Bard do? Bard doesn't have it, so Bard is integrated with Adobe Firefly. So you can clearly see how both of the providers are just going on, doing text, audio, video, and images, and it's coming up, right? So the whole purpose of this is, at least you need to know what are the best AI generators so far and what they can do, and then you can decide where you can use it. At this stage, these tools are changing very quickly, they're adapting. So that's what we are going to cover in every month. But for now, let's go back and have a look at some of these tools. The very first tool that I strongly recommend for you, which we'll cover deep in our bootcamp, is the Adobe Firefly. In addition to creating specific what's infographic, where do you need to use infographic, what's a style guide, where do you use style guide, and all these things, we are also going to look into deep dive on some of the tools. The very first thing is Adobe Firefly. So I put up some taglines there. By far, this is the best AI art generator for designers. If you're already familiar with InDesign or Illustrator, etc., as you might have done, this will be a good add-on for you. So it's there, and it also integrates with any of the Adobe tool, but it can also work as a standalone tool. The best thing is it's starting to become mainstream. It's starting to be integrated mainstream with it. So let me have a look. Yes, I will share the bootcamp details at the very end. So primarily, as I shared with you, the biggest difference that what Adobe does is, you won't have any copyright issues because it uses Adobe's stock images to create its own stuff, right? So, and Firefly is now becoming more and more used, as you can see, when it's now being used with Google Bard and stuff, Google Images. If they are copyrighted, then it will be written copyright information, and it comes with it. So definitely, it's something that you have to use it, mandating you. The best AI art generator is Adobe Firefly, So with the reason for Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and DALL-E, which we'll cover next, because they take a lot of information elsewhere. As a tool, they're amazing. It's going to get your job done. But behind the scenes, if you want to know where is this image coming from, I don't know, because obviously the source point comes with this, right? So Adobe Firefly to start with. The second one, let's also look into what are some of the limitations. It has some limitation with text to image. Only when you use it, you will know what I talk about. So again, in here, we don't have time to actually open and do the demo, but in the bootcamp, we'll cover that in detail. So by far, it has a much more user-friendly interface. If you do try to use Midjourney, compared to Midjourney, it's very, very user-friendly. And then, like what ChatGPT does, you have an option to pick up different AI models within, because image is much more dense, and you can pick up different models, and you can just, use different models for your different needs. It's there. And it also helps you to edit any images and do what it takes. So these are some of the design features. I'm not going to go in deeper, but I'm just want to highlight what you can do with Adobe Firefly. Midjourney, the most, like, if this is the ChatGPT of the image world, very, very. Anybody have seen the last selfie ever taken image? The haunting image that this is him or her is actually again, it's biased, the last person alive, and there'll be smoke behind that image. It will be much more of a skeleton. I just want you to search for this image, the last selfie ever taken. I've given the link here, but that won the fine art competition, and it went really viral last year, and that image was created by Midjourney. So the version is updated depending on where you are. Discord is where it's get hosted, and as I showed you, you need to use Imagine. Imagine as a prompt to do whatever you need to do. So again, there are the two ways. I'm just giving an overview of the tool. You can, the public channels are available where everybody can see your prompt. You can just play around. You can just test it. There is no way you're going to add any confidential image on this and try to change it. You can't attach anything. It only creates it for you. So it's only like, you can just go back and check something and, just see what else. There's a public channel, and you can connect to your own server, and you can create its own thing. That's just only $8. Basic membership, you can create up to 200 images. That's a lot for $8. Unlimited images is only $30 a month. Imagine, if you want to get one stock image, how much you need to pay. But if you don't want to get stock image, at the same time you want to get something unique and clever, you can just start to go for it. And Pro is where it comes in. So it's for any realistic, stunning images, Midjourney is the go-to for you. DALL-E is DALL-E is the one that started all these things, when it went in parallel with OpenAI. So again, it wasn't as popular as ChatGPT, but it's still available. It's the best art generator for anybody curious. If there is, where do I start? I don't want to spend any money. Adobe Firefly, I don't have any Adobe things. Midjourney, $8. Where do I start? DALL-E is where you start, and there is a lot of tutorials that's available. We'll also cover this in our bootcamp, but there's lots of tutorials available, and you can just play with it as well. It's main text to image function. It's very, very intuitive for you to use. These are my personal experience. Capable of putting clean images that tend to match. Sometimes, it's people want, if you have a photographic interest like me, then you just go with different styles, and you can make it like a movie, make it like realistic, different things. But the only thing is, the aspect ratio. If you want to create images in different things, it won't work. It just comes like this. On the other hand, um, some some editing tools have this, but this is something that you could start to play with. If you want to have something, even that with totally no cost, then you just need to go with Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion, again, they are now collaborating with Google, so it's available for you. It's very, very powerful and versatile compared to DALL-E, and also it's much more accurate compared to DALL-E. The only reason, and also the resolution wise, you can upscale the resolution to get it done. But the UI or user friendliness, it's not as user friendly as DALL-E, but it's there for you, right? But this is technical because this is open source AI. So what you're going to find is many companies, or like what what you're going to do from September, as I told you, is we're going to work with Google Bard, we're going to work with ChatGPT, etc., to just create bespoke LLMs just for companies. So it's very customized. The reason for that is it will be cost effective, at least 1/3 of the cost of the traditional LLMs, custom LLMs, still enterprise driven, etc. That's it. Similarly, if you can customize, you want to create your own image AI based art generator, you could use Stable Diffusion. This is what we will be using personally, DALL-E and others from September onwards, to create, in addition to AI writing tools. This is also something. Just play with it. AI, but not as user friendly as DALL-E. DALL-E is a starting point, but Stable Diffusion come with it. These two, the next one that I'm sharing, I don't know, maybe even 1% of the designers know. So what this tools does is this: out of all the 4 tools that we talked about, the only tool that enables you to write a text with a graphic is this tool. It's called Deep Floyd. So Deep Floyd, as you can see here, the ability to generate text is what makes it impressive. That's it. But obviously, when you have, that comes with its own thing, right? In this case, graphics, getting graphics right alone is a challenge. But if you go back and want to get the words as well in the same way, it's not. So there are some typos that you will get. So be patient with this tool when you go for it. It's available for a demo, but it's payable as well. So it's there. But Hugging Space, as you can see here, it's available on there. There are a few other tools that you can use. Crayon, while other tools, you have to go log in and do it. In Crayon, you can simply visit the website, you type what you want, and then Crayon will start generating your image. You don't need to log in or do anything. That's there. But you can download and also like log in and do as the others do. CF Spark is another less well-known tool. What generally happens is they are gradually moving into marketplace. If you see now, we are talking about Facebook coming out again with their own AI, LLM. We are talking about Microsoft, we're talking about Google. What is Amazon doing? I don't know whether you saw the advertisement today. Amazon is going to come out with an AI marketplace because every single tool need hosting. And the most affordable hosting is AWS. So AWS will now be hosting nearly, they are said, we are going to host 100,000 AI tools across all these things. So what they are now planning to do is just to launch an AI marketplace. So for all these custom LLMs or the LLMs that are, or the any AI plugins or anything that's based on Google Bard or Google this, even though they are enticing, Microsoft is enticing with their own servers and stuff, AWS is coming as always to crash the market. So you're going to find lots of interesting stuff happening in here. The one that we all talked about is 2D images. If you want to create 3D images, that's called Shap-E. DALL-E is another version called Shap-E. But don't be put off by, I don't know graphic, I'm not going to learn this, etc. I just want you to go and try these 5-6 tools that I told you. Midjourney, everybody talks Midjourney. Just go and look what Midjourney is. Obviously, it's $8 a month, $99 a year. But start with DALL-E. It has free credits and it's much more user friendly there. Stable Diffusion is totally free, but it's quite clunky to work with. And then Adobe Firefly for if you have Adobe license, that's it. But still, you're talking about $20, $18 a month, etc. You can play with it. If you are familiar with the Illustrator, InDesign, or if anybody within the team is doing that, just go get it for $20. Just play with it and see what it does for you, because that's what is going to make you powerful. These things, I thought I'll reiterate. These are some of the tools, the additional tools that we could cover. So these are designs.ai. This is a marketplace. And then when specifically infographics, when we are looking at specific, how do you create, I have this framework. I have a 5-step process to onboard my staff. I just want to make this as an infographic. So how can you, is that infographic the right way forward, or is there any other flow diagram? First of all, that's the thing you need to know. And once you pick up infographic is the way, then how can you use traditional tools with infographic? We look into that. And how can you use specific tools like Venngage to create infographic as well. As part of the bootcamp, we'll cover that, but otherwise just play with this. When we look into design anyway, like you found out, Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint also has a lot of design tools, but also there are lots of plugins that's coming up that's going to make that easy as well. So again, we are going to use some of these tools in the bootcamp as well. So Aura Tommy is here. We also covered this. If you're thinking, okay, I don't want to go to Getty Images, I don't want to go to Shutterstock and others, Unsplash is a good place to start for you to get some images. So if you say, okay, I want to get some images, I want to get some icons, I want to do that, Unsplash is a good place to start. The question, I already told you which is the best AI art generator. Many people consider Midjourney to be the best AI generator at the moment for photorealism. Because it started 6 months before, and it has a lot of users. You're talking about 3 million users or more, and it's adding here. But that's there, and everybody's talking about it. So you also need to go, as I mentioned, and experiment what it takes. It's not free, is no longer available, and $8 is where it starts. Whereas Adobe Firefly, it's at the moment it's said to be the most useful AI image generator, which is there. And simply what's going to be amazing, which we tested, which I wish I can show you today, but 1 hour was too short, which I'll share that if I do conduct another masterclass on graphics at the end of the year, I'll show you that. Well, the best thing that you can do here is you can go back and find the prompts. Yes, the starting point of the prompt, like imagine or create, etc., might be different. But if you take the same prompt, I'm sure you might have tried that between Google Bard and also with ChatGPT. You send the same prompt or request the same prompt with the 2 tools, and then you get 2 different answers, right? Similarly, it's the same story with the image as well. It's going to be like sometimes you'll be very shocked to see, I asked the same question, but why is it this one comes out with something accurate immediately and that one isn't, etc. And that's something that you can also test it. Use the same prompt and try to test out a few tools. So for the best free AI tool, which I didn't cover, is Canva. Canva is, it's there. I don't know whether anybody have used Canva. Canva is also, we'll have a special deep dive on the bonus session in the masterclass. So Canva totally is there, and now they are making it. Canva is where you could find, okay, I want to create an organization structure. Yes, in Microsoft PowerPoint, I do have some samples, but that will make mine look exactly the same as others. So where can I find a much better, organization structure, etc.? You can use Canva. Canva is where it's there. And again, Canva Create is the tool that's AI driven, and again, that's something which we'll cover. So we already touched all these things. Again, is using generative AI ethical? Like every question, what's ethical, what's not ethical? Things are changing at the moment. So again, because we are not going to take Da Vinci's The Last Supper and plagiarize it and call it as ours, right? So these are some images, some things. If you are use Unsplash and use what it takes, and And but the principle of what you're going to use is there for you. Again, these are some of the stuff people will say to scare you, but you as a designer need to experiment. When it comes to AI art generator, you do have to experiment, so because we are not photographers or artists who just rely on the photographers that we create to make money. We just want to have something that makes our solution as the best solution, or our written, something that we can do to enhance our writing to get people in. So that's the important part. So just for fun, I don't know whether you know this influencer. That's I don't know, there is this lady called Karen Mayori, and she has created a virtual girlfriend bot. Supposedly, it's $1 for an hour, and she has nearly 1,000 boyfriends the moment she launched within an hour. So, the adoption of AI is going at every level. I and people will do whatever, but for you, but the very basic, try to help yourself. So again, this is the syllabus. As you always see, we always come out with what we believe based on the questions, what should be the content that we need to cover for any of the bootcamp that we have. And then based on the Q&A that I get it from LinkedIn, or I observe, or the emails that I receive, or in the circle people ask me, we tweak the syllabus. So again, as we always say, we learn from you. But for now, this is it. What are the, because there is no, so far I've checked it, there is no design and graphic course or proposal professionals that's AI powered, or in general information graphics driven. There's no course that I've checked. So we don't want to go for like this masterclass workshop, etc. It needs to be done on a longer basis so that you can do it. That's why we are going to do one boot camp that's going to cover all these things, which meant how are we going to create for each of those templates different things. So how can you do that? How can you use Word and that start with, at the same time, what are the other stuff that you can do that you can differentiate yourself in there? It's an 8-week bootcamp that's going to start. This is how we are going to lay it over. In addition to the frameworks of how we are going to do, we're also going to look into the 4 tools that I talked about, which is Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, Canva AI photo editor, DALL-E. Plus, we'll also be looking into the AI plugins and stuff that makes up with all these things as well, right? So where do we use? Again, the biggest challenge for you is what graphic should I use when? Nobody talks about that. Like, okay, I have a situation where I need to talk about governance, the risk management, governance, etc. Why did I choose to explain it that way? What are the better way to explain it? Okay, now I learn what should be the different ways of explaining it. Now, which graphic tool can I use it to do? Either you can have the instruction, send it to your designer, like how I do, or you can use the AI tool yourself to just go for this. The bonus sessions will always increase, as you know, but for now, this is what we have added so far, and it's there. So again, in this diagram, one character is AI, one character is not. So this is what I want to leave with you. Again, we're starting on the 25th of July. You can find it in here. As always, we have job seekers and emerging economy rates, which you can pay by month, 3 months, and we also have the Western economy rate, which again you could pay in over 3 months, because again, that's it. So drop us a note and it's there for you. But again, design wise, AI art is here to stay. The very first step, we are on a very first step here, how this is going to impact us, because writing tools have been getting established, but AI as graphics, as personal proposal, you will be the what we call the founding members or early adopters to just do that. As you always find, what there is a place for AI in the creative process. What we told in the writing part is, here we go. You do all the mundane stuff, get your writer's block done, so you can use the time for creativity, strategic activity. But how can I use AI in the creative process itself? Again, you can use it to think differently. You can use it, some things you can't explain with words. So you just want to have some, gray or some, some minimalistic thinking. just put on it and see what output looks like. Now that creates your answer. Okay, I really like that. Now you can use something similar. You can send it to someone to just say, I want something like this, because that's it. Or at a very, very basic, this is what's been done by one of the client. They use AI just for internal use. So they have decided for the next 3 months, whatever that we are going to do, we are not going to share that to anywhere outside. We are not going to use it anything, but we are going to use it for all our internal communications, for our internal newsletters, for our internal emails, for our internal conferences, for our internal meetings, and so many other stuff that they're using. They are going to use it just for that, just so that they're familiarizing with it. They learn how to use it, and then they extend to use it elsewhere. Again, nothing stops you from that, but at least they know that they are taking this forward. So that's about it. Send with the final quote: the power of the unaided mind is highly overrated. Without external aids, memory, thought, and reasoning are all constrained. So you can see creativity is there, you can do it, but you know what? That could be possible 300, 400 years ago, when there was no distractions, and when we look at nature and we draw, when we think. But today we live in a world where we don't need a sample. We don't need a starting point, because the chances of us coming out with something totally out of blue is going to be very, very rare. So that's the thought. With that note, I end. You have the masterclasses, which is available either to the same link that you have, or it will be uploaded on YouTube. Just go for that. And these will be the final masterclasses, because now we have 35 sessions to go through from July all the way to end of the year, just so that we could empower more and more people, just to make them, yes, we have done enough 1 hour masterclasses, but we'll still continue with our AMA sessions. So July 13th is one. Continue to see what changes are happening. Again, we have talked a lot about AI data governance. We have talked about writer tools. We have also talked about design tools, etc. So I need to come out with something different July 13, because my expectation is we have a very strong community, and the community always watches, either it's recording or whether this. So that means I can't repeat myself with with the same content, like what most other training providers do, where every slide, every content, it does take a lot of time for us to create it, and that's it. So we will see how the world is on July 13th. As I told you, now Amazon is entering the game today. It's going to be interesting, and by the time we'll have the AI regulations firmed up and a lot more interesting tools, we can have a look into that. So don't miss it. We are back on our insider training after a short pause. 1 year anniversary of our revocation finished, and we still haven't heard anything from our friends on the other side. So my legal team will do what it takes. But in the meantime, we are back with our insider training. Join us, to bid or not to bid. Again, I've heard this sort of talks differently all the time, but Michael is from Ireland, and it'll be good to learn what's happening on the other side of the little pond. So join in. It's there. All our workshops are in live workshop page. Yes, it's very dense, it's very long, but you could find some of the content, so that's there. So I'll see you either in the AMA session or in the bid here or at the bootcamp. It's all there for you. And with that note, this is our July workshop list. It's there again in live workshop. We are now categorizing by geography, just so that people can work with time zones, and then we will just see where it takes us to. That's it. And if you haven't joined the connect, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for joining. I know this is long, but I hope you are slightly more inspired on using AI tools for arts as well, in addition to writing. That's it. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you Friday. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining.